What is up, guys? We are starting on the Mesmer build for the new PvP enhancement, and oh my goodness, the burst is back. But before I jump into this, I want to see what everyone else is doing for their builds, because I am very curious, because this update definitely open ground for not only like the greatsword stuff, but just other things in general. So if you want to post your builds in the comments down below, feel free to do so, and if there are comments in regards to that, I can make a video in regards to people posting, and I could give you a shout out, and I will do a live commentary while I'm doing that gameplay, while I am trying to figure out your build / all that other stuff. So I'm going to be changing a little bit of my build structure. So with me being that said, I am going to be having me playing in the background while I am going over the build. So obviously it's pre-played and I am just talking, so that way you're not actually seeing me standing here at the screen for whoever knows how long I'm actually doing anything. But without further ado, without me just continuing rambling, because that's how I normally just do things and just go on tangents, let's get started. So with this new update for July 26th, the new way to play Mesmer from I'm glad that they revamped the greatsword once again, and I believe with this being said, the burst is back. I am excited. So let's get down. So I am running sword shield with greatsword, and sword shield is running doom with blood, while my greatsword is running air and blood, and I'm using rune of the pack, and I'm using the marauder amulet. With that being said, the revamp of the greatsword is awesome. They allow mirror blade to be a little bit more user-friendly now. It actually has the 4 bounces, and the might is awesome. But just the chain combo, it just feels like how it was in the very beginning of the game first came out, with just the greatsword burst. It was just disgusting with the 2-3-4 combo. Like, it is just disgusting along with your shatters. But let's move on down to the specialization stuff. So I'm running inspiration with persisting images, which is a kind of a given. Phantasms have increased health and spawn with retaliation. Retaliation gives you that extra buffer of damage from anything, because we're going to be having 3 clones out at all times, because that's what Mesmers do. So we're gonna have restorative illusions, since we are shit for condition removal. This is the only thing that we want to be using for this entire trait line, because Warden's feedback, focus skills, reflect, like, we don't really need that, and protection phantasms, we don't need that. We need the ability to remove conditions, and it is a must. Now with running inspiration, Minder's purity / power cleanse is awesome, on top of using Well of Eternity, because not only Well of Eternity removes 1 condition, the power cleanse removes 2 whenever we use a heal skill, which is awesome. And the fact that the power cleanse is on a lower duration, we always going to be removing 3 conditions, which is fantastic. So let's move on to the last one. We're going to be using Phantasmal Defender. I mean, you can use Illusionary Inspiration, but that's not really designed for this build. We want to try to have as much buffer damage, because since we are running Marauders, we are glassy. So we want to have a little bit more damage. I know that they nerfed it, but I don't care. It's still good. Damage reduction is always fantastic. Kind of just needed it because half damage was kind of just broken to begin with. But 33% is nothing to sneeze at. So let's move down to what is a little bit different from what I'm running. I am running Domination. So I'm using Confounding Suggestions. So a chance to inflict stun whenever you daze a target, increases stun and duration by 100%. So with this build, we want to try to stun lock, so that way we could get the heavy burst with the greatsword and can get the other burst when we are going to be in melee range. So with all this stuff, we could heavy burst down to either almost one-shot somebody that's either not tanky or do a significant amount of damage from the greatsword, immediately swap to sword shield, stun lock them there with not only the immobilization from the sword 3 skill to double tap into do the illusionary leap into them to immobilize them. You have the shield skill that will stun them, and with confounding suggestion, like, it boosts the stun. And on top of that, we have diversion, which definitely allows us to get a little bit more of the stun. But as we move on down through the domination, I will explain a little bit better. So Shatter skills also remove a boon on hit. That is fantastic. Don't really need anything else in regards to that. The thing that's also kind of nice is deal more damage for each stack of vulnerability. Dazing a foe also applies vulnerability, so we'll be dazing a lot, so we get a little bit extra damage on top of that. Also, whenever we interrupt a foe, so with dazing, obviously that allows interrupt, so we're going to be doing a lot of invulnerable stuff. So mental anguish. Shatter skills do more damage. Obviously, since we're going to be more shatter, we want to be bursty. This damage increase is doubled against foes that are not activating skills. So with that being said, when they are stunned, they can't do shit. So instead of doing 15% more damage, we're going to be doing 30% more damage. So with Mind Rack, it's going to just explode all over people, and it is going to just melt their health bar to either completely down them or just cause them to go in panic mode, and all they want to do is try to survive. And with the greatsword now, allows us to range a lot better, and we could kind of hone in a little bit, because the number 4 skill, the Phantasmal Berserker, the swing of that one is just, or not like just the swing, but the whirling skill definitely does so much damage, and it cripples, and it can hit 5 targets, which is awesome. So let's move down to the actual Chronomancer trait. So we're going to do time catches up. Activating Shatter gives your illusion super speed, so this is kind of a must. We want, just in case if someone dips or just has extra speed compared to us, even though we are already moving 25% faster, we just lack a little bit extra of the mobility. So with this, we might be able to pick off some other people, which I was able to do on some of my fights. And then we're going to use Alacrity applied to yourself lasts longer, which is called Improved Alacrity. So all of our shatters is going to give us a little bit of alacrity, so we can get a little bit faster on the cooldown, which faster cooldown means that we can use our greatsword a lot faster. And then last but not least, we're going to do the Chrono Phantasma. So obviously that's a given. That's what everyone is going to be running. Your phantasms are resummoned after the first time they are shattered, and they are dazed after that, but I mean, whenever you just deal with that, I mean, it's just that 1 second goes by very quickly. So let's move down to the utilities. The utilities is kind of where it comes down to preference, in my opinion. So I like Well of Eternity. I know there's people that use Ether Feast, so you get a little bit extra heals for every illusion, or you could use Signet of Ether. I just like Well of Eternity just because of the heal burst, and yeah, it's on a 30-second cooldown, but with us shattering, we don't really have a 30-second cooldown. It is roughly like 22 to 25 seconds, so it's still good. We heal for, initial heal is 3,200, and the ending heal is almost 4,000, so we're healing just above like 7,000 HP, which is really good just for something that everyone else can just like get in whenever they're in there, so that is also good too. So the thing that I find very difficult for me sometimes, if I go very power, so this kind of just dictates on the team comp. So if you're going to be fighting against someone that is going to be very Condi heavy, probably want to run no field, so that we could strip Condis off of ourselves and then remove the boons on them as well. But other than that, I like to run Well of Calamity. It cripples, it gives weakness, and the fact that it pulses 3 times, it kind of gives a little bit extra damage, but then the final damage hits pretty hard, and the fact that it's on a 20-second cooldown allows us to use that more. I like to run Portal, so that way, because my playstyle, I like to watch home and mid, so I could bounce between home and mid. So if I see someone crossing, I could just drop a portal and then I could just engage from there, or someone else can just go to my portal and then we could just 2v1 real quick, and then the person can go right back to where he started. And then I use blink. Obviously I need it so I could go, let's say if I'm either doing clock tower and all that stuff, I need to be able to evade or go up the tower very quickly. So I need this for a good offense and a good defense standpoint. So I still run MOA. I don't really care about the nerf for it dropping down to 6 seconds. The 6 seconds is still a long time when it comes down to competitive play, and it could definitely make or break when it comes down to either, you know, necromancers going into Death Shroud, or you got engineers and warriors going into like their rampage and all that stuff. And elementalists, they're not really going to go into like the tornado or whatever. They're going to be just running their rebound, so we're not going to really worry about that. But running Mo when they're in that form, when we use the continuum split, it allows us to heavily turn the tide on them. So if no one knows, I'm just going to just say this right here, if no one knows what MOA does when someone is in like Death Shroud and all that stuff, all I'm going to say is it removes them back to their original state. So if they were in Death Shroud, it pulls them out of Death Shroud, goes back to their original HP, and then we could just heavily burst. So it's really good when you are doing either a party run with either one other person, so that way you're doing team chat, so you could just follow targets, or if you're doing 5-man runs, you could just, obviously the communication standpoint of that is going to allow you to very heavily focus on specific targets. So obviously with the target system, you could be like, hey, I'm going to do a continuous split real quick, and I'm going to MOA this individual, and let's burst this sucker down. That's the only thing that is really good. We want to maintain continuum split for that, because since it is on 180-second cooldown, theoretically, if we use continuum split properly, it won't really be 180. It is cut by half. It is cut down to 90 seconds, which is awesome. And if we have enough illusions, we could do crazy burst with the greatsword as well. So we could do 2 greatsword bursts if we are actually starting off in sword shield. This depends on the situation. So if you're going to be engaging on the far range, kind of use your discretion. Use the greatsword. Once they start seeing that you're going to be a greatsword, they're going to know that you're going to be very bursty, and they're going to try to utilize all that stuff. But sword shield going to be your best friend when it comes down to melee and offense and defense at the same exact time, just for the blocks and for the stun and immob and invulnerability from Blurred Frenzy. So I have all the stuff playing in the background, as you guys see. I know I got a little rusty from the very beginning, just because it's been so long since I played anything in regards to the burst. So like I said, leave comments down below in regards to your thoughts on this build and what you think that you are running and all that other stuff. So hit the like button if you like this video, and if you continue on wanting more build videos, just to let me know. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to subscribe to see more future content in regards to this, feel free to do so. And I'll see you guys next time, because I got a bunch of other stuff down the road in regards to this stuff. See you guys.